I had a whole conversation with someone that I thought was my husband. A follower named Lupe sent me this spooky story, and she says that one night her and her husband were driving home from work, and she didn't really feel like cooking dinner. They had some leftover food from the night before, and she told her husband, well, I can just make a rice, we can have a quick dinner, and we can call it a night. Her husband was like, that's cool, I'm tired anyways, like I am so down for that. They get home and they both enter through the back door, and she says that the back door leads them almost directly to the kitchen. So she stayed in the kitchen and she saw that her husband went somewhere, but she's not stalking him to see like exactly what he's doing. So she's minding her business. She starts on the rice, and then a few minutes after, her husband comes up to her in the kitchen and he is staring right at her. Weirdly, I might add. He looks into her eyes so serious and tells her, can you come with me to the restroom and help me shave the back of my neck? And she's like, okay, yeah, let me just finish making this rice and I'll be right there. She says that she looks at him because he doesn't say okay, he doesn't nod, he doesn't say okay, yeah, that's fine. He just turns around and walks to the restroom. She finishes the rice. She goes into the restroom and the restroom is dark. The light is not on, so she's like, goes and checks the bedroom. Nobody there. She opens the back door. It's dark. The car is still there. She's like, where did this guy go? So she walks around into the living room and he is laying on the couch in the living room. She said that she approaches him and tells him, hey, let's go to the restroom so I can help you shave your neck. And he's like, what? And she's like, I already finished the rice. Hurry up so we can eat dinner. Let's go to the restroom so I can help you shave your neck and we can eat dinner and lay down. And he's like, why would I need your help? What? And she's explaining to him, like, honey, you went to the kitchen, you asked me for help, and I am ready. And he's like, I came straight to this couch. I haven't moved from here. So now she starts explaining everything to him, and he's like, honey, I have not left this couch. I heard you talking to someone in the kitchen, but I thought you were talking on the phone with your mom or with your sister. I have not left this couch. Hell no. So you're telling me that Lupe had a whole conversation with something. She didn't state that this ever happened again. I'm sure she would have told me if it did, but how? Why? I don't understand. Like, what is a mimic? What is it? I need someone to explain because I'm freaking out. But thank you so much to Lupe for sending me this spooky story. As always, if you guys have any stories that you'd like for me to read, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them, and I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye!
This woman named Karen started dating this guy and immediately hated his kids. Them stepkids, she did not like them at all. She also did not like the fact that her boyfriend's ex was black. So she went on to attempt a lot of crazy stuff on those kids. And every time she would report back to her friend that we call Tasha in this story, and Tasha started to notice that every time she even thought about harming those kids, there were consequences. The last place that we left off was when Karen officially met the ex-girlfriend. Now again, the ex-girlfriend been haunting Karen in her dreams. Karen's been going through a lot behind the scenes, but decided to show off in front of this lady anyway. After the ex tells her, I hope you continue having sweet dreams, although Karen knew that that wasn't someone she should continue messing with, she didn't stop. After that interaction, Karen calls another friend to ask for advice. That person told her that she needed a spiritual reading because her life was literally falling apart. Karen didn't believe in mediums, but she went anyway. Karen told Tasha that the medium pulled the following cards. Pay attention. The Devil card, the Moon card, the Tower, and 7 of Swords. The medium told her, whatever you are trying to do to that woman's kids, stop. Their mother is deep into Haitian voodoo. She is a devotee of a Loa. Those children are heavily protected by Ezeli Dantor and Ogu. The medium goes on to say, if you know what's good for you in your whole bloodline, you will leave those kids and that man alone. Karen ran out scared, but she still didn't listen. This medium that she didn't believe in the first place wasn't gonna stop her from doing what she wanted to do. Karen told Tasha that she went online searching ways to suffocate kids. Girl, why did her mother and brother die in the hospital around the same time Karen was telling Tasha all of this? Tasha said she was done. Karen told Tasha that she felt she needed to confess to someone in case something happened to her. And the way she said it, Tasha was spooked out of her mind. After that, Tasha said she never spoke to Karen again. All Tasha knows is Karen lost her job, lost her mom, lost her brother, and she lost that man. Tasha says, I don't play with evil. I stay far, far away. That was a hell of a story. Thank you for submitting that story. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit it to me right here on TikTok or on Instagram. And while you're on my Instagram, follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh, the link is at the top of my page. And for longer, better, and spookier stories, you better check out my YouTube channel. I post every week, sometimes twice a week. That's at the end of every single video. I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl.
Let's read some scary stories that were sent to us. The first two are from the same person, and then the last two are going to be from another person, but like the same person. You know what I mean? Okay, so this first person is really into like witchcraft and like HEXES, just for context. One day I was chilling in my room. I was waiting for my laundry to finish. I keep my door open so I could hear the beeping when it was done. While I was scrolling on my phone, I got a feeling like I was being watched. So I looked up from my screen and saw a tall, dark, white-eyed figure staring at me. It didn't feel bad or give off any negative energy, but it did scare me. I walked up to the door as it was standing in the door frame, and I closed my door without looking at it. I said in my mind, I'm scared, please leave. I didn't see it afterwards when I went to get my laundry. Somehow, I'm less scared of the dark after that encounter. I would not have been brave enough to walk to the door and close it. Okay, part 2. I used to love watching scary stories on YouTube, especially these two guys who talked about paranormal games. One day when I went to sleep, I had a weird dream. At first, all I could notice was that everything was purple, as if there was a filter. I was in my mom's car in my favorite spot. The car was driving in a desert and there was no driver. I was all alone. After some time, the car passed through a white light, then my instincts kicked in. I remember I watched a video about a dream with a light, the exact one I had. I remembered, if you see the light, hold your breath, don't move, don't talk, don't do anything. And if you don't manage to get out, you'll be stuck there forever. So that's what I did. I held my breath, and for whatever reason, I was able to feel my entire body. So I didn't move, I didn't blink, and with each second, the car went faster and faster. While that was happening, I also felt like I was literally suffocating, and the view of the dream felt like it was in third person. The car kept going faster until I went through a white glowing door and I woke up. Okay, I also have extremely vivid dreams that feel so real, like I can feel things. It's just creepy. And I don't know what it means. I feel like it's astral projection, honestly. Okay, now we're going into the next person's stories. I actually can't remember if there's 2 parts. It might just be one really long story. I think it's just a really long story. Okay, anyway, I'm tired today. When I was in 5th grade, one of my classmates suggested we play a game called Charlie Charlie. We were all naive and joined in for fun. We set up a piece of paper with the words yes and no written on it and stacked 2 pencils on top of each other. We started asking questions, and some of my classmates joked around by blowing on the pencils to make them move and scare us. Since it was nearing lunchtime, we grabbed the piece of paper, hid it, and promised to continue later. When I got home, I went to the kitchen to wash my hands. Suddenly, I started to feel cold. Mind you, it was 30 degrees Celsius, so very hot, and no air was coming in since the windows and doors were shut. I looked around and didn't see anything, so I didn't think much of it. As I continued to wash my hands, I heard a faint whisper of my name, and I felt like I was being watched. It really scared me because beside the sink, there's a very dark storage room. I quickly finished washing my hands and got out of the kitchen. When I was back in class, I heard one of my classmates saying that something had followed them home and that they felt like they were being watched. I quickly said the same thing happened to me. So, we played Charlie Charlie again and asked, "Did someone follow anyone home?" The pencils pointed to yes. No one was blowing on the pencils this time either. Then we asked if it had followed me home, and the pencils slowly moved to yes. It freaked me out so much that I started crying. We ended the game and crumbled up the paper and threw it away. We never speak of it again.
Months passed and I still felt scared when I was home alone. We lived at my grandparents' house and their floors were very dark and they had this religious statue in their house. One time, I was alone in the living room playing and it was dead quiet. The only thing I could hear was the clock ticking. I looked up at the statue and stared at it, and suddenly the eyes moved to look back at me. I got scared and blinked, and the statue's eyes went back to normal. I don't know if it was my imagination, but I didn't stay there long. I quickly went to my grandpa's store, which is right next to his house. Another time, my mom got me a big teddy bear, and I was so happy to have it. Late one night, I had a nightmare that this bear was chasing me, and it grabbed me and was dragging me around. I screamed so loud in my sleep, my mom ran in there and woke me up. I never touched that bear anymore. Years passed, and me, my brother, and my mom moved out of my grandparents' house. I was so happy to live in such a nice house. I'm home alone in the new house every day since my mom has work and my brother has school. One day, I was in the kitchen area eating while watching a video, and in the corner of my eye, I saw a figure running from my room to my brother's room. It looked like a little girl, but I ignored it because I didn't want it to notice me. After I ate my meal, I went back to my room and closed the door and continued watching the video, when all of a sudden, I heard a door slam. I got so scared but mustered up the courage to look, and my brother's door was closed, but there were no windows open, so it couldn't have been the wind. Years have passed and I still live here, and strange things happen when I'm alone, but I usually ignore it. One time, I told my mom about what I had seen, and she quickly shushed me because she says we cannot talk about it. She told me that she sees it too, but we should ignore it and never speak of it. I feel like that Charlie game, it sounds almost like a Ouija board, like you're inviting something in. So, I don't know. It does sound like something maybe followed you. If anybody has any advice on how to get rid of that, like how to cleanse your home, leave it in the comments so the person who sent me this story can read that and maybe take your advice. They said praying really helps. Hopefully they can pray that thing right out the damn door.
This
Oh, I can't wait.
is giving goosebumps. It's called Camp Ashwood. A bus jolted down the dirt road, its headlights struggling against the fog. In the back, the teens laughed too loud. Camp Ashwood, baby! Rick whooped. Oh, Jenny sat quiet, staring out of the window. We shouldn't be here, she said. Marcus smirked. Don't tell me that you believe the ghost stories. Jenny's eyes didn't leave the trees. They're not stories. My mom told me. The caretaker never left. He's still here. Bet you $50 the place is haunted, laughed Rick, the loudmouthed jock. Please, said Tina, rolling her eyes. The only thing haunting this camp is your cologne. Ha! Everyone cracked up, even though the road grew darker and quieter. The bus driver barked a laugh, though it sounded more like a cough. Don't joke about things you don't understand. The cabins reeked of mildew. The kids tried to laugh it off, though, the music thumping from the boombox. But then came the sound. From inside the wall. Raccoon, Marcus said quickly. Jenny's voice was flat. It's too slow. That was fingernails. The scratching stopped. A whisper seeped through the boards. Who's in my house? Everyone froze. Tina whispered. Did you hear that? Rick forced a laugh. It's old wood. Cabins creak all the time. But the whisper came again. Louder. Urgent. Get out before it burns again. Marcus lay with his head near the wall. He was almost asleep when he heard it. Breathing heavy, wet. Not his, not anyone in the cabin. He pressed his hand to the wall. Cold, damp, warm on the other side like someone's face pressed against his own. The breathing stopped, then the whisper into his ear. Don't move. Marcus sat bolt upright, gasping. What? Tina mumbled from above. Nothing, he lied. But he didn't sleep again that night. The next day, Jenny was gone. Her bed empty, sheets damp with lake water.
It's always a Jenny who goes missing.
It is. The kids panicked, searching everywhere. Marcus pressed his ear to the wall and then he froze. Jenny's voice muffled, pleading. Help me. He's in here. Please, get me out. She's in the wall. Jenny! Her voice came again, but lower, different. He's in the walls. He never left. Rick smashed the plaster with a broom handle. The wall groaned, and then came a deeper voice. You can't save her now. The sound of an axe dragging echoed through the walls. That night, the camp descended into chaos. The kids scattered into the woods, the mess hall, the ruined lodge, but the sounds followed, nails tapping just behind the boards, wet breathing everywhere, and one by one they vanished. A scream in the woods, a thud in the mess hall, silence where laughter used to be. By dawn, only Marcus remained. He staggered into the ruins of the lodge, his flashlight flickering, charred beams loomed overhead. Jenny! He called desperately, please! From the shadows, she stepped forward. Clothes damp, eyes glassy, and she held an axe in her hands. Marcus's jaw dropped. Oh, thank God. She raised the blade. You don't get it, she said softly. He was my father. This is his house, and now it's mine. Her lips curved into a smile as a whisper curled through the walls around them. Dozens of voices chanting, her father's loudest of all. My blood, my house, my revenge! Jenny leaned close, her voice barely human now, her father's ghost moving through her words. I told you that he never left. And then the axe came down on Marcus's head. Camp Ashwood stands silent now. The cabins rot, the lodge blackened by fire, but if you press your ear to the walls, you'll hear Jenny laughing. Her voice tangled with her father's. The caretaker doesn't haunt the camp anymore. Now his daughter does. The end.
Can we show him the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
The most terrifying hiking trail in the United States is located in Tennessee, in the Appalachia, a place called the Norton Creek Trail. Now, the Norton Creek Trail is about an hour from Knoxville, Tennessee, and probably about 20 minutes from Gatlinburg. Now, this trail goes through the Smoky Mountain National Park, and this area has the highest concentration of old pioneer cemeteries and abandoned homesteads that you can actually visit. This area is known for ghostly apparitions, orbs, people disappearing. There is a famous story about a pioneer settler who went looking for his missing daughter on this trail and actually was found unalived. Now, the creepiest legend, though, in this area is that of Spearfinger. Now, Spearfinger is this old Cherokee legend that there is this witch who they described as being sometimes 40 feet tall, having skin like rocks, and this long, sharp finger that is shaped like a spear. And the creepy thing about Spearfinger is that she could shapeshift. She could be anyone, your auntie, your cousin, your best friend, and she could be walking right behind you. You turn around and she sticks her long spear finger into your back, rips out your liver, and eats it. Now, this story comes from this same general area. There was this woman who said when she was a young girl, her and her brothers and sisters, they lived in this small shack in the Appalachian Mountains. And she said, they were very poor. So this house was, not that big. They all shared a bedroom. And they said their father had to leave them alone for a couple days. So their auntie came to stay with them. So they said, one night they're hanging out with their auntie and they're joking, they're having a good time. When all of a sudden, they said the air just got stale. And they could feel almost like a cold breeze blowing into the house. And they said the dogs started to freak out and bark and go crazy, like someone was outside. So the auntie got really, really nervous and really scared. She takes the kids and they all go up into this attic where the father had made kind of like a safe area for them to hide if anything were to ever happen. So they're all sitting up in the attic, and there's, this tiny little hole that they could see down into, the downstairs. And they said all of a sudden the door opened up, and they said in walked this little old lady. And they said she just kind of, was touching everything around their house. And she said all of a sudden, this old woman started saying, "Come out, children, come out." I got something for you. Come down here. I want to tell you a story. And she started, acting like she was this concerning old woman who wanted to give the kids, stories and candy. And so the kids start to say to the auntie, like, can we go down there? Can we see her? Can we see her? And she's, quiet, just be quiet. And the more they resisted, the more this woman was like, come down here, kids, come down here. I got something for you. Like, I have some toys. And, they're like, oh my goodness, we don't have no toys. Like, we should go down there. We should go down there. And the auntie's like, no, fighting with them, saying like, you have to stay up here in the attic. And so they said all of a sudden, the woman kind of disappeared out of sight. And as they're looking down this little hole, they said the next thing they knew, a finger popped up through the hole and started, moving around. And she said the auntie and the kids are all scared because they're seeing like this finger just coming up through the hole. And they said the finger started to grow and grow, and it became almost like this long, sharp spear. And they said it started to move around the attic, and they had to like avoid it because it was almost hitting them. And the auntie just started saying these prayers like over and over again. And they said all of a sudden it was like, boom, like they had woken up from a dream. This old woman was gone. The air seemed normal. And so the auntie brings them down from the attic. And she said the next day when her auntie went outside, all of their animals that they had out there were like mutilated, torn apart. And she said to this day, she is afraid to go out in the woods in this area.
So tonight's True Scary Story is going to be a little different because it's not about an email I got, it's about me and an attachment that I think I have had for a very long time. And I have told you guys a part of this story, but I have never told you the full story. So tonight I'm going to tell you the entire story. So bear with me and get through the part that you have already heard and listen to the full story because it is terrifying. Trigger warning, I do mention addiction in this quite a bit. So for those of you who know that I am in recovery, so I was an addict since I was 12 years old. I started drinking and then I progressed when I was 19 years old to schmugs. It wasn't until I was about 28 years old that I really changed my life. I am 35 years old right now, and I did have a little slip in between there, but I pretty much changed my life when I was 28 years old. But when I was 19 years old is when the really scary things started to happen. After high school, I had actually moved into an apartment in Jacksonville with a group of my high school friends. It was 4 of us. Now, it's important to note that at the same time, my mom lived in St. Augustine. So the first thing that I remember happening is I was in between work. So I was working a double shift that day. I worked at a restaurant and I was coming home in between shifts to take a nap because I was hungover as always, and I had fallen asleep on the couch. I was in a pretty deep sleep when suddenly I hear something get right in my ear. This woke me up, get right in my ear and say in the most guttural growl, "Get the F out of my house, you pee." I remember just waking up, sitting up and being like, my heart pounding out of my chest. Like I could not believe what I had just heard. So I was like, this is absolutely terrifying. I called my little sister and I was like, can you please come stay at my apartment with me? She was close. She lived with my mom. So my little sister ends up coming to my house and she ends up staying at my apartment with me. I woke up the next morning to my little sister coming in my room. She opened my door and she said, Kaisa, I remember looking at the time, it was 9 something a.m. And my sister said, Kaisa, you need to get up for work. And I was like, I know. And she closed the door. So I always slept with my door open because I was terrified of that apartment. Well, I fall back asleep, and as I'm sleeping, I have this dream that I was being rolled around in my covers, like someone had wrapped me around in my covers and rolled me off of my bed. And I remember feeling this incredibly dark energy, like I was really scared in my dream. It absolutely terrified me. And I woke up, I don't know how much longer later, and I was on the floor, rolled up in my covers, laying on the floor. Now, this obviously really scared me. So I was like, what the hell is going on here? But I had to go to work. I had actually woken up late for work, and I had remembered that my sister had come into my room and told me that I needed to get up for work. But then I remembered that she told me to get up for work at 9:30, which was really early in the morning for her to tell me to get up for work. So I thought that was odd. So I went out into the living room and I asked my roommate, what time did Megan leave? That's my sister's name. And she said last night. And I was like, what do you mean last night? She's like, she left last night. So I called my sister and I was like, did you wake me up this morning? Because mind you, my door was closed when I woke up. And she was like, no, I wasn't even at your house this morning. So this really freaked me out, but there was nothing that I could really do about it. I was living there. What was I going to do? A little bit later on, and I don't remember how much later on, I ended up going to stay at my mom's house. I was sleeping in my sister's room, and I remember sleeping, and I woke up because I heard a sound from the closet, and I didn't want to open my eyes at first. My eyes were closed, and I was just laying there, and my heart was pounding because I knew something was in the closet. And normally I wouldn't look, but I don't know why I did, but I looked. And there was a woman in the closet with short brown hair. I just saw her head. I didn't see anything else. And she was shaking her head back and forth really, really fast. And she had her mouth open and she was smiling like this. And I remember hearing a ha ha, and then something went boom underneath the bed, and I jumped up out of that bed so fast. I ran and woke my mom up. I was absolutely hysterical. I was like, Mom, we need to go stay at a hotel. I'm not staying in this house. I just saw a woman in the closet. I was freaking out. I was so scared. And she's like, we're not going to go stay at a hotel. I will go in the room and I will sleep with you. Fast forward about 4 years later, and I move into an apartment in New Paltz, and I lived underneath one of my friends. He was a police officer. He's no longer with us today. I love him so much. May he rest in peace. It was a studio apartment. I do have to tell you that the bathroom was behind me. That's important to know. It was behind my bed. So I'm laying in bed one night and I hear this ting, 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 ting all over the walls. And I was like, what is that? What is that? And then I feel something right behind me. And in a woman's voice, I hear someone go, Kaisa, right in my ear. Mind you, I am alone at this point. So I ran out of that apartment so fast. We had steps that were behind like where the house was. Went outside and I sat on those steps. I did not think about the fact that the bathroom that I had just heard that whisper from was directly behind me. There was a bathroom window right behind me. So I'm sitting on these concrete steps. My heart is pounding out of my chest. I can't go back inside. It is super late, early in the morning, so I can't go wake up my friend. So I'm terrified just sitting in the backyard when suddenly I hear knock, knock, knock on the window behind me. And then I hear a woman's voice go, Kaisa, Kaisa, look at me. When I tell you guys that I've never been so scared in my entire life, I felt like I was gonna throw up. I could not believe what I was hearing. And then I hear it again, knock, knock, knock. Kaisa, I know you can hear me. Look at me. So I finally got up, I ran around the house, and I went and woke up my friend hysterically crying. Now I'm gonna fast forward to when I was 34 years old. This was only about like 7 months ago. Me and my boyfriend are sleeping in his apartment. And during this time, my entire life since that happened to me, constantly, every single night, I was constantly hearing a woman hum. Every single night. I still hear it to this day. And finally one day I say to my boyfriend, I'm like, listen, have you ever heard a like singing or humming at night? And he said yes, and he doesn't believe in the paranormal. You could see a ghost, he could see a ghost right in front of him, and he would not believe that it was paranormal. He would think that there was something scientific about it. So after he said yes, I was like, what do you mean yes? You're hearing it and you don't believe in the paranormal. Like, you hear what I hear. We're both hearing this. And he's like, it's not paranormal. It's got to be someone in the building. And I'm like, someone in the building is singing in our vents every single night at 2 o'clock in the morning. We can't even hear people walk around in our building. We were in Manhattan. Like, the walls are so insulated. You cannot hear anybody. There was no way that it was, first of all, I knew it wasn't because I had been hearing this forever. But like the fact that he was hearing it too just validated what I was hearing. Well, we have this conversation and literally about 10 minutes later, he falls asleep and I'm working and I'm filming. When suddenly I hear him make this like really weird noise. He's making like a mumbling noise and I realize that he's having sleep paralysis. So I'm like, oh shit. So I get up, I go over to him and I wake him up and he goes like this and he's like, oh my God. And he starts laughing. And I'm like, what is so funny? And he's like, something so terrifying just happened. And I was like, what? And he was like, I was sleeping and I guess I had sleep paralysis. And there was this woman and she was standing in front of me and her mouth was gaped open and there was blood coming out of her mouth and she was screaming at me. And I was like, what? Like, that is crazy. We just had a conversation about hearing this humming and then you see that? Like, how are you not? But I didn't even try to argue with him because I know that he doesn't believe in that stuff. So there was no sense in doing it, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go back to doing what I was doing. When 2 minutes later, he's like, oh my God, Kaisa, I need a towel. I need a towel. And I look over and his nose is just pouring. Like, when I say like he had the worst nosebleed, it was so bad. So I go and I grab him like a tissue and I hand it to him and I just don't say anything to him. And I'm like, this is absolutely insane. Well, later on, I go to sleep that night and I fall asleep and I wake up and I'm in sleep paralysis. And as I'm in sleep paralysis, I hear something go. Starts laughing. I can't even mimic the laugh. It was like this deep, like raspy laugh. And it was laughing and it kept going, Kaisa, Kaisa. So I am terrified. So I'm fighting to get out of the sleep paralysis and I finally do and I literally like gasp. As you know, sometimes when you get out of sleep paralysis and you're just like, and you like jump out of bed so that you don't fall back asleep because you're so tired. Well, as I'm doing that and I'm wide awake and I'm jumping out of bed, I hear one more time, Kaisa. Absolutely scared the ever-loving shit out of me. Like, I was petrified. That scared me so much. So much stuff has happened to me that I have not talked about, and just recently I have thought about talking about it, and I think I'm going to start talking about it more, but I have to end it here because we are literally going to hit 10 minutes soon, and this is getting really, really long. But what do you guys think of this story? What do you guys think is happening to me? Like, the woman I definitely think has followed me throughout my life, and she definitely shows up in like negative parts of my life, whether like I stopped using a long time ago, but she was there when I was using. She's there when I go through something sad or bad. I know that she's not good, but I just want to know what you guys think of it. Like, what do you think is going on here? And that Kaisa that I heard in the sleep paralysis, that was a male's voice. That wasn't a woman's voice. And with that being said, I'm now going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Myrita036 is my first shout out. Thank you so much for the comment that you left underneath my video. That was so sweet, and I really appreciate your support. I appreciate everyone's support right now more than you guys know. You're helping me more than you know, and your comment really meant so much to me. Thank you for watching my content. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you so much. I would not be able to do this without you, and you guys, people like you, help me through things like this. So I love you. Tamra Barnett too. Same thing, girl. Thank you so much for your encouraging words. It really means so much to me right now. People like you help me every single day, and you don't even know it. So thank you for being a part of my little community. Thank you for commenting and pushing my videos out. Thank you so much for watching my videos. It means so much to me to have your support, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and that I love you. I am going to talk about the sweater that I'm wearing right now. You do not have to stay for it. That's why I put it at the end. Okay, I am utterly obsessed with this sweater, and let me show you why. The back of it is so freaking cute. Look at the back of that. Ah! You can also wear it like that in the front. Actually, let me show you. So you can also wear it like this, which I think might be even freaking cuter. Like, I think I like it like this better. It's so cute. And it comes in different colors too. You guys definitely check it out. I will drop the link below. It's definitely like a very thick sweatery material. It's very, very thick. It's nice material. It will be great for winter. I should have worn it like this the whole time. It's so freaking cute. But anyways, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories, have a safe night, and what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
Hello and welcome back to Stay Spooky Friends.
All right, babes, I got you. This story is so terrifying. So if you're watching this at night, I would recommend just saving it and watching it at a later time. Here's the thing. You don't have to believe these stories. Believe what you want. But the truth is, people go missing in Appalachia all the time. Unexplained. They are unable to find their bodies. And I'm getting hundreds of DMs of stories that have happened to people that are unexplained. So just listen. This story happened to a close friend of mine, but he wants to remain anonymous. So to protect his identity, we will call him John. So growing up, John and his cousins would always spend their summers at his grandma's family farmhouse. This was located in western North Carolina near like Black Mountain, but it was very remote back in what they would call the holler. It was a quaint little farmhouse, 2 bedrooms. There was a creek that ran out the front of the farmhouse, and the kids would often go fishing. Now, this was a smaller creek, so he said they would just fish for small, like rainbow trout or brown trout. He said they would get out there and like wade in the creek, but it never came up higher than usually like their thigh level. They fished in front of the house for a little bit that evening, but didn't catch anything, and they decided to kind of go up the creek a little ways. His one cousin found a little spot he wanted to fish at, but John kept going up the creek a ways.
So John's grandma had this old black lab that would follow them around when they were outside fishing. The dog followed John up the creek with him, and then John found a place that looked like it was good to fish. He was fishing for about 5 minutes or so when he said the dog got up and started growling at the water. He said this was very odd behavior for the dog because the dog wasn't like the type to be this way. It was a very docile dog, but the dog just kept staring into like the center of the creek and growling. And then John hooks a fish, and he says this fish feels massive. Does not feel like a little brown trout that he's normally used to catching. But as he's reeling this fish in, it gets like stuck, and he thinks that at this point it's gotten tangled or caught under some branches or something. So he kind of starts to wade out into the deeper part of the water to go like unhook the fish. He says as he's wading out there, the dog is just absolutely going ballistic, barking, 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 and growling. But once he gets to where he feels like his line is tangled up, he feels 2 hands grab his ankles. And then whatever it is that grabbed him pulled him under. He said he felt like the life was being absolutely sucked out of him. Whatever had a hold of his ankles refused to let go.
He said at times he was able to break the surface and breathe and scream for help, but then he would feel it jerk him back under again. He can still hear the dog barking, he's screaming, he's kicking, he's splashing. And then thankfully, his cousin, because of all the commotion, ran over and pulled him up out of this area of the creek. As soon as his cousin pulls him free, John just takes off running for the creek bank. And his cousin is like, dude, what is going on? What is happening? And John's like, you gotta get out of the water. You gotta get out of the water. His cousin runs over to him and John's like, dude, something was pulling me under. Something was pulling me under. They're standing on the side of the creek bank now, looking into the water, and they don't see anything. But John looks down at his ankles and pulls up his pant leg, and he's got bruising around both ankles. The dog is whimpering, and both of the kids are very freaked out, and they're like, we've got to go tell grandma. They go tell their grandmother what happened, and John said that his grandmother's face just turned like pale, and you could tell she was absolutely horrified. But in an effort to like calm them down, she was like, oh, it's just you boys out there wading around, causing bruises on your ankles. Nothing got you. John said they never went back to fish in the creek again, and to this day, he still has no idea what grabbed him. And the dog will not go down to the waterbed either. What do you think this could have been? And does anyone else have any experiences like this? If you have, leave it in the comments. And if you want more spooky Appalachia stories, then just follow along.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
Spooky story time. A follower named Lily sent me this story, and we're going to call it Husband, Sister, or Mimic. Lily says that her husband works second shift. He leaves the house around 12:45 to catch the ferry and is usually home around 11:50 p.m. She says that while he's at work, she's at home with her 4 kids, just chilling most of the time. She says that one night around 8:30 p.m. she lays her babies down and she goes into her room, and she wants us to know that their rooms are directly across from each other. Around 9:30 p.m. she's in her room again, relaxing, scrolling on TikTok, and she hears, "Hey babe," coming from the living room. She says that the tone, the mood, the voice, everything that came from that statement sounded exactly like her husband. So she kind of rolls her eyes and she's like, ugh, what does he want? I just got comfortable. And as soon as she gets up, she realizes it's 9:30 p.m. Remember, her husband doesn't get home till about almost midnight. She checks his location, and sure enough, he's at work. She's stunned because she's like, I know what I heard. Moments later, she hears babe, but like an aggravated voice. And she said the voice sounded very upset. So she walks to the hallway and she's just staring at the hallway, expecting to see her husband maybe come out. Maybe he left work a little bit early. Who knows? But again, it's impossible because his location is at work. She ended up falling asleep and she ends up forgetting about this whole situation. One night, her sister comes over and she leaves the house about 10:15 p.m. where she makes sure she locks the doors. She turns off all the lights. She walks into her bedroom. As soon as she crosses that doorway, she hears, Lily, I forgot my bag. Can you please come help me find it? This time, she's absolutely positive that she locked the doors and there's no way that her sister got into the house without a key. Her sister does not have a key to her house. So that now is 2 instances. The last one that really freaked her out, and personally freaked me the hell out because I'm a mom, like. So one night, she is chilling. It's about 11 p.m. and she's waiting for her husband to get home from work. She's sitting in like a big fluffy chair watching TV, and behind her is the hallway to the bedrooms. She's just chilling, and then she hears her oldest daughter literally yelling for her frantically to come to her room. Lily says that just 5 minutes ago, she had just checked on her kids to make sure that they were okay before she came to the living room to watch some TV. So she was like, being a mom, she jumps up, frightened and scared, like, oh my God, what's happening? My baby. Then she stops at the hallway, like, and she remembers the 2 prior incidents that happened. Everything just comes flooding back. She stops at that hallway. She kind of peeks in, and the room is closed, and everything is silent. She knows that you're not supposed to acknowledge them, but being a mom, she yelled back, what is it, sweetie? And she's just staring to see if she's gonna hear something back. Then she hears, just come here, mom. She knew instantly that that was not her daughter because her daughter never calls her mom. She always calls her mommy. She didn't move from that hallway until her husband got home, and she says that while she's waiting for her husband, she's scared as hell because she can hear that voice, "Mom, come here, I need your help," like blah 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 blah, like just constantly talking to her. Once her husband gets home, she goes and she checks on her kids, opens the door, and they are sound asleep. Lily says that she saged the whole house, and ever since then she hasn't had any mimic like voices or anything like that, but she says that the house always feels heavy. She's constantly hearing footsteps, something touching her, and just constant knocking on walls and doors and stuff. Thank you so much to Lily for this story. If you guys have any other stories that you'd like for me to read, send them via DM or email, and I love to read them, and I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye!
This is the most haunting experience that she has ever had. Creepy story time. So this woman, Cecilia, is sharing her story, and she said that she doesn't mind being tagged below. She says she's had a lot of creepy experiences in her life, but this one chills her to the bone. This happened when she was 34 years old. She's 35 now. So she has 2 hound dogs, and her husband make a really loud kissy sound when they're trying to call them. That's relevant to the story. So Cecilia is just sitting in her recliner listening to some music with her headphones in. All of a sudden, she decided to just press pause for a minute. So at this point, it's silent. Nothing is playing through the headphones. And then all of a sudden, right up in her ear, as though it was coming through her headphones, was this extremely loud mwah kiss sound, sounding exactly like how it does when her husband makes the sound. She said she fully expected to see him when she turned to look, but nobody was there. Well, at least her husband wasn't. As she is looking around to hopefully see her husband, she is starting to have the worst panic attack she has ever had in her life. She knew something was in her house, and she knew it wasn't good. So she called her husband while he was at work. So she's on the phone with him, and he goes, "Did you just make a kissy sound in the phone?" No, she did not. No. So she said she grabs her rosary for protection, puts it on, and heads to the back door. She said she has her arms spread out wide like Jesus on the cross, and she is yelling, "I have God, you have nothing. I have God backing me up, and the Son and the Holy Spirit." Basically telling this thing to go back to hell where it belonged. Once those words came out of her mouth, she could hear from the back of the property the lowest, most demonic growl she has ever heard in her life. So now she can't go out there. She goes back into the house. She closed the door. She calmed herself down. She said a prayer, and eventually she was able to get to sleep. I mean, I don't know how. I would not have, but good on ya. But she was not prepared for what she was about to wake up to. She said she looked out her back door and gasped. There were 3 long slash marks in her tree that were at least 4 inches deep. Whatever the heck that thing was not happy. She says it's almost 2 years later, and those marks are still there, fading. So leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you have any questions, drop them there. She might be able to answer them for you. She'll be keeping an eye. And as always, don't forget to follow for more creepy story time.
So this guy just got off of work, got on the city bus to be on his way home. As he gets on the bus, he pulls out a book by William Prescott and decides to start reading it. He becomes so into the book that he pretty much forgets about everything that's going on around him. By this time, the bus had already dropped a lot of people off, and he was still really into his book, not looking up or giving anything else attention. That was until something grabbed his attention. He said that, this is described by him, by the way. He says that he started hearing women laughing, and when he looked at the front of the bus, 3 of the most beautiful women got on the bus, and he was just in awe. He mentions that 2 of the 3 girls were a little older, but that the 3rd one was close to his age. He says that their bodies were beautiful, even the way they were dressed and they carried themselves. He was just like in awe with them. He said that one of the older ones was also carrying a baby, and what grasped his attention even more was that the baby was also like the most precious, beautiful baby he had ever seen. So he tells us that the older 2 women sit to the left of him, and that younger one sits right in front of him. Basically, they all sat really close to him, even though there was like a lot of areas for them to sit at. He goes back to reading his book, and he says that the girl, the one that was closer to his age that sat in front of him, decides to turn around and say, "Hey, are you reading William Prescott?" And obviously that grabs his attention because he's like, oh my gosh, she knows what I'm reading and that's interesting. And he's like, yes, it's William Prescott. I love this book. And she's like, oh my God, I love it too. So then she asks him, have you read all of his books? And he was like, no, I'm actually starting with this one. And she was like, oh my gosh, back in my house, I have the entire collection. And now that we're getting to know each other, maybe you can come back home with me and I can lend you all of my books for you to read. She was like, maybe after I give you the books, we can go eat somewhere. We can talk about the book some more. He looks at his watch and he's like, oh, it's really late and I have to work tomorrow. I would love to, but I just cannot do this tonight. He said that she becomes insistent on him going out, that she even looks to the mom as like, Mom, right, he can come over for dinner, then we can go over the books. And the mom was just like, he can come over. Red flags. So maybe 2 to 3 stops ahead, he notes that 3 men and 1 lady get on the bus. And the reason why that grabbed his attention was because he noticed how weird one of the guys was looking at him. He said that the guy would look at the women and would look at him, and then he noticed that he started whispering something to his friends that got on the bus. He was like weirded out because he's like, why is this dude staring at me and at these beautiful women? Like, what is he saying? What's going on? He was so confused at the way the guy was looking at him and at the women. At one moment, he even thought he probably thinks it's weird that these beautiful women are talking to me. And I don't know, he thought maybe they were jealous, or maybe he thought it was weird, or maybe he just thought that they were the most beautiful women ever, and obviously got that dude's attention too. He said that this entire time the girl was still insistent on him going home with her for these books. He just reiterated that he couldn't and it was too late and that he apologizes. So they get to the next stop and all 3 of the women get up and start exiting the bus. But he says that one of the older one looks back at him and says, we'll meet each other again. He said that something about the way she said that made him feel weird, because until that point, yeah, he was like, it's too late for me to go with these women. I'm not, I have work tomorrow. But he thought it was just like a normal conversation, a normal, thing that was happening. Nothing serious, nothing weird, until she said that to him, where he was like, what the fuck? He says that as the bus closed the door, he could hear them laughing, like walking away, and the bus starts to move forward. And that was when those 3 guys that had gotten on with that other lady got close to him, and they were like, hey, I'm sorry if I'm gonna ask you something weird, but I feel like I have to ask you something. So one of those 3 guys were like, what were you doing talking to them? And he was like, oh, they got on the bus and they were asking me about the book. He was like, no. What were you doing talking to women with that aspect, like the way that they look? And he's like, what do you mean what aspect? Like, they were beautiful women. And the guy was like, no. Those women had like scratch marks and deepened eyes, and like they smelled disgusting. Their clothes were ratted. They looked inhumane. And the guy's like, what do you mean? They were beautiful women. And the guy kept going. He was like, they smelled nasty. They were ugly. And that dog that they had with them. That's when the guy was like, dog? They had a baby with them. The guy was like, no, they had a dog that had missing teeth and all slobber was going down his mouth. And that dog was looking at you like if you wanted to attack you. And the guy's like, no, it was 3 beautiful women with a baby. So at this point, he's in a state of shock, because he was like, no, like I saw beautiful women. And that was when that lady that had gotten on at the same time with the 3 guys got close to all of them, because she had overheard everything. Son, those women were witches. She was like, you need to know that these women get on the bus very frequently and they try to take young men like yourself. She starts telling him that close by is a cerro, or like a mountain, and that there is a cave that they call the Cave of the Devil, and that cave is known for people going there and doing rituals. And she basically tells them that you just saved yourself, because even though they're witches, they cannot take you against your will. So you did a good job by not going with them. And he starts thinking back at his whole like conversation with the girl and how insistent she was at him going with her. But obviously, they weren't taking him. They were just very insistent on him going. And he was like, no, I can't go. It's too late. I have to work. So he says that the 3 guys and the woman got off, and he ends up being alone on the bus. But like, he was in a state of shock. He was like scared, and like he cannot stop thinking about that whole interaction. So this happened in Mexico, and it comes from the podcast Paranormal, or Podcast Paranormal. If you want to go listen to it in Spanish, please go check them out. But what do you guys think? Oh my gosh, the fact that he like saved himself, but only because he had to work the next day. Imagine if he didn't have to work the next day.
If you wake up often at 3 a.m., it's not for no reason. 3 a.m. is known to be the devil's hour or the witching hour. This is basically when the veil between the spiritual realm and the physical world, otherwise known as our reality, is at its thinnest, thus allowing for spirits to enter a lot easier. This is why so many people wake up around 3 a.m. feeling like they've been watched, or like there's something in the room watching them while they're sleeping. Y'all, it's crazy. They're coming through to watch you because they know that you're gonna feel that energy. Whenever you feel like someone or something is staring at you, you're going to feel that. thus making you wake up. Some of these spirits do want to scare y'all, I'm not gonna lie. Especially if it's at 3 a.m. I'm telling y'all, no good spirit is gonna visit y'all at 3 a.m. It is also known to be the darkest hour of the entire day. Literally a portal for spirits to come through. It's 3 a.m. right now and the energy feels crazy. It's always like this at 3 a.m. Those spirits tend to be most active right now.